Yes. Oh. About 3 weeks ago, I was flying down a slope called Avalanche, going about 49 miles per hour. I tracked it on my phone and went over this hump and just completely lost control of everything. I flipped backwards and landed straight to my feet sideways, so I jammed my ankles and my feet into the ground, and kind of twisted them, and then basically bounced off the ground and landed straight to my feet again. When I was done falling, which felt like forever, I was on my stomach looking up the hill. Ski patrol saw it from the lift, and everyone was scared that I was pretty much dead or way more hurt than I was. I wasn't wearing a helmet, which was my fault. Next time, I know for sure that I will always be wearing a helmet again, but... So, ski patrol took me down the sled. I was only about 50 feet from the ski patrol hut where I crashed, and I wouldn't let her touch me at first. I was like, I'm gonna get up, I'm fine. But I told ski patrol I was gonna get up, I was fine, so I stood up with my board on, and that wasn't happening. So I had to sit back down and unstrap myself completely and took my feet out of my board, and then she's like, I tried to stand up again, but that didn't happen. I stood up and then didn't know how to sit back down because I couldn't bend my knees. I was just like completely in shock. So she helped me sit back down, and then she's like, do I have permission to touch you? And I was like freaking out, and I was crying. I was like, I'm not crying because it hurts, because it really didn't hurt at the moment. I just knew what I did. I was like, oh, I ended my season, like, I'm so upset. Like, I was like, just so you know, I'm not crying because I hurt myself. I was like, I'm crying because I ended my season. So she checked me all out, and I was convinced that I could go on a snowmobile like the 50 feet to ski patrol, and she's like, we can't do that. And I was like, alright. So they took me down the sled. That was like the only thing I never ever wanted to do in my entire life, was be taken off the mountain on a sled. So they get me in there, and so they put me on a stretcher and they got me into ski patrol and lifted me up, and I was sitting there for a while, and they were like, we need to take your boots off. And I was like, alright. So they were looking at me and they were like, how bad does it hurt? And I was like, I don't know. I was like, it hurts really bad. I was like, I think it's just because my boots are so tight. So they were like, well, we're gonna have to cut your left boot off. And I was like, well, that's not happening. That's just not happening. So they took or my right boot. They wanted to cut my right boot off. And I was like, that's not happening. So they took my left boot off, and my left ankle ended up being sprained also. And then they just ripped my right boot off, and I like screamed my head off. It hurt so bad. And then they gave me ice and put it on my right ankle, and they were like, it's probably broken. And I was just looking at them. I was like, yeah, I think I know it's broken. I was like, just make sure my board's okay. That's the only thing I was concerned about. I didn't want to break that. It's like a $500 board. And I had to fill out all this paperwork, and she needed like my age, and I didn't have my ID or anything on me, and I was like, I'm 21. They're like, well, you can make your own decisions then. So they were like, well, we want to send you to the hospital. And I was like, I don't have ambulance insurance. I'm not going to like Somerset Hospital. I was like, it's a terrible hospital to begin with. I haven't heard anything good about it. So I sat there for a while, and we had to figure out what to do. And I called my mom, and I was like, don't be mad. I was like, don't be mad. I think I broke my ankle, or both of them. And so she's freaking out, and she's like an hour and a half away, or an hour away. And so we had to get my sister, who worked like 20 minutes down the road, and she grabbed her boyfriend. So they came up to get me, and her boyfriend carried me out to the car and put me in the car, in the passenger seat, and my sister took my car down. It's like 40 minutes away to Med Express, and so her boyfriend followed us, and we went down there. And we get in, and he has to carry me through the doors, and I had splints on both my ankles, and they just looked at me like, oh my god, what did you do to yourself? So I'm sitting in the waiting room, and the guy comes out and puts me in a wheelchair and takes me back, which was terrible because he like, this huge guy like couldn't even lift me up, and he like smacked my ankle off the side of the chair when he was putting me in a wheelchair, and I was just not having it. I was not in a good mood, and we basically went there just to get x-rays to see what was initially wrong. So they took me back, and I was like just crying, like I was in this like, I knew I ended my snowboarding season. That's the only thing I cared about. I didn't care about anything else. Like I still am so upset that I have to sit here when it snows outside and I can't even go outside. But they took a ton of x-rays on both my ankles, and they said that there was nothing wrong with the left one. It was just sprained. And then they said, your right one's definitely fractured, but that's all they told me because they really didn't know anything else. And I was crying, I was swearing at everyone, and don't do well in a doctor's office where people were like telling me what to do. So he's like, you're gonna need to go see an orthopedic surgeon. So we had to wait for the phone call when I got home, and I ended up seeing the orthopedic surgeon 3 days later, and Med Express gave me some pain pills, and nothing worked. I didn't sleep for 3 days. Like, I couldn't believe that I could be in so much pain. Like, the first 3 nights were completely unbearable. I couldn't even believe it. And, so 3 days later, went to the orthopedic surgeon. They looked at the x-rays from Med Express, which they should have taken more, I feel, and he said that it's definitely fractured in 2 places. I don't know, the bigger bone in your ankle right at the joint, and then like underneath there it was basically shattered. And he said it was just broken into a bunch of pieces, and I was like, well, can you tell me how many pieces? And he's like, we don't know for sure. He's like, there's a lot, so it's basically was shattered. So we're sitting there, and he's like, well, you have 2 options. And he's like, if I knew that one would be better, I would tell you, but they're both going to be the same healing process. So he said I could either get surgery and a metal plate and pins in my ankle, and that would be in like 3 days from then. Just wait and wrap it back up with the ace bandages that Med Express put on, and then wait 3 days and get the surgery in the hospital right like 20 minutes away from my house, or and then a year later they would have to take everything out. They would have to take the plate and the pins out, or I could get like a full leg cast, and then that would stay on for 4 weeks. He said 4 to 6, and then he changed it to 4, and then get that cut off, and then they were going to put me in a short cast. So I went with the cast since it was the same healing process, and I didn't want to have 2 surgeries and get out of work twice and be out even longer, like a year from now. So he started at the bottom of my leg and went up, and I'm now in a full leg cast for this is the 3rd week. I have 3 or 4 more days to go until they cut this off, and they're going to take a whole bunch of x-rays and then basically go from there, put me in the short leg cast, and he said it would be on from 3 to 4 or more weeks, so we'll see. But this is a minute. But it goes the entire way up. I had to cut my jeans off. But I wasn't doing anything I couldn't do any other day. It was just like a freak thing that happened. The snow was bad, and I don't know, people come up to me and they're like, "Are you done? I guess you're done. Like, what did you do?" I was like, "Oh, I broke my ankle snowboarding," and the reason the cast is the whole way up is because it's in so many pieces and nothing can move, or it's gonna be surgery, basically. And people are like, "What did you do?" And I'm like, "Oh, I broke my ankle snowboarding." Like, apparently it's pretty rare to see like a full leg cast, and people like freak out about it, and they're like, "Oh, well, I guess you're done. You're done. Like, I guess you're not doing that anymore." And I'm like, "No." I was like, "This is my life. This is the only thing that makes me happy," which is why I'm like so upset that I have to sit here and can't be out there right now. Like, this is the only thing in my life that makes me happy. Like, snowboarding is my most favorite thing in the entire world, and no one is ever gonna make me stop. Like, one injury, I've had many injuries before from it. I've broken both my wrists, I've thrown my hip out twice, I've messed my back all up, I've sprained my knee, so one more little thing isn't gonna, not little, but it's not gonna set me back at all. I mean, there's still next year, there's still all the years after that. This didn't scare me out of anything. If anything, it pushed me even harder. I set a goal for myself this year. My top speed was 51.9, almost 52, and I wanted to reach 55, which is basically what I was trying to do when I wrecked. And it was dark outside, darker, it wasn't dark, and you couldn't really see well, and the snow was just like pebbly, marbly, nasty snow that you just don't want to even deal with. But it seemed fast, and I was like, "Alright, we can do this, like, it's fine, I'll throw my headphones on, I'm in my own zone." I was up there by myself. So, that's what happens, I guess. I'm get in better moods, I get in bad moods where I just sit here and I cry about it because what are you gonna do? Like, I still can't believe it happened. This is actually a really hard injury to even get snowboarding. Like, it's really hard to break your ankle inside of your boots. Like, those boots are so stiff and so tight that it's just how do you do that? Like, all my friends are like, only you. Like, only you could pull something like this off. Only you would try to bomb a hill and go that fast. And so, it's like a pro level injury, if you want to call it that. But I'll get over it. Never ever thought I would even be in a cast in my life, let alone one that goes up the whole way of my leg. But I have a bunch of people that signed it, and the first week and a half, I want to say, my toes were almost completely numb. I could barely feel them, and I couldn't move them at all. It hurt so bad. Like, I have had so many muscle spasms in like my calf muscle, and even my ankle hurts when I try to move it a little bit, if I can kind of do that, but my muscles hurt so bad, and everything's so itchy, and you can't reach anything, and it's just terrible. And but the first week I couldn't even move my toes or anything, like, but now I'm like, I can't bend them the whole way, but I can like move them up and down. So go ahead. Alright. Say, hey! You turning it off?
How about it? Yeah.
Get situated.
I guess. Oh my god. We're stupid today.
It's cold out here, my toes are cold.
No yeah. Go whichever way you want to go.
Walking through that crap.
go this way.
There's drugs on the ground.
Oh, you're too close to me.
I'm sorry. You want me to get up on there? To obstacle the stairs.
Yeah.
What'd you park it for?
I don't know. I wasn't thinking of that.
Just keep it on.
Oh, be careful. Help you get better. Shut it off.
Whatever you want to.
Oh man, it smells good.
Just do it way up here.
All right. Can we get in front of you?
Look at those black lights.
Yeah. You made me screw that.
Alright, turn that on. Actually, give it to me. I'll turn.
So that was fun.
Just do it. Get situated.
Oh, I'm going the wrong way. Can I shut it off?
Yeah, whatever.
I'm going to go to the front of the store. I'm going to record you.
Are we leaving the store? What are we
Yep. Oh my God.
It is, look. Look behind you.
I can't look at video.
Look behind you, look.
What is it?